And we're live.
Oh, hey! Hey, everybody.
Hey, there we go.
Welcome to
Hey.
the Crow's Nest. We are back after how many weeks? Months? Years we've been gone? Well, since
Couple of
RVE.
weeks
Yeah,
since
since
RVE.
RVE. We had we had vacation time after RVE. And then last week we couldn't do the show because I took my mom to get her second COVID shot. So my mom is all shot up, vaccinated up, and ready to roll. She
Wow.
is
So
so
you've just
relieved and
violated her
excited.
HIPAA status just on Twitch like that. That's nasty.
I didn't because I did not give her name or her date of birth, so I did not violate
Well,
any
that's
HIPAA
easy to
laws.
find. It's the internet now.
No, they have no idea. She doesn't have my last name, as far as you know. Anyways, all right. So we're back with the Crow's Nest.
All
Thanks
right. Well, now I
everybody
have
for
something to do
joining.
for an hour.
Yeah, Gene, we got on as quick as we could, just for you in particular. I know you had a lot of requests, but anyway, so welcome back to our two-time guest, first time
so-
video streaming guest.
Yeah, I'm looking around. I like what you've done to the place.
Do you
I
like
see
what we've
video.
done? Yeah, we
Yeah.
have you on video. A.K.A. Rasputin himself, Mr. TPK. Frank Schumacher of the notorious, famous, infamous Nightheart Games.
Yes. Yes, thank
Right?
you. That introduction's way bigger than I can possibly imagine.
The mighty and indomitable Frank Schumacher.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
There we go.
That's
And
tremendous-
today we're going to
tremendous
be.
introduction.
Today I'm going to be working on something I've been working on off and on for a while. This little skull-headed knight dude from Reaper. I do not know the name. You can look it up. Bobby sculpted it. So he came out in October-ish timeframe. I'm hopefully I'm not showing something that's not available. But that's what I have to work on today. And then I had something else, but I can't show it off because it's not a Reaper piece. I was showing Frank at the beginning of the show. I don't know, because that's not ever going to be for sale, is it, Frank?
I don't think so. No, I think
Okay.
it's internal.
All right, cool. I won't show it off then. So, Jason, how are you?
Yes.
Are you good? Have you been good?
I'm
Still good?
absolutely great. How about you?
You know,
I'm
good,
very happy
good.
it's spring. Let's put it that way. It's been a
Yeah.
long winter.
We have snow again tonight. We're expecting another 6 inches tonight.
Yeah, but
And-
that's Colorado spring. That's fine. That's nothing
Yeah,
unusual
no,
for you guys.
I'm not complaining. We had 3
No,
feet
we'll
of
get
snow.
we'll get another snow up here too before too long. But at least
Yeah.
it's green, starting to green up.
Shh.
Birds are
Don't
out.
let Texas,
squirrels are
yeah,
out.
don't let Texas get any more snow. They can't handle anything outside of
No.
hot and
Is that-
oppressive. Yeah.
I've
Hot,
heard that.
yeah.
I've heard that.
You
So-
have to keep it
Hot and
above
oppressive,
80
yeah.
here.
Yeah, because the power grid, since they're their own independent union and want to succeed from the union, they can't actually handle it if something came to pass, and the rest of the
Yeah.
states would have to bail them out.
Apparently not.
That's tough. That power grid stuff.
Well, most of you guys that are watching know who Frank is, what Frank does. Frank's the consummate DM, the DM of all DMs. He's does Nightheart Gaming. We do Reaper Errant every other Friday. We just did one last Friday. This Friday we'll have off, and then we'll be back next Friday. And he's been running the campaign. How many episodes or how many whatever have we done so far off the top of your head? Do you know? Because I just think I can't.
I think
can't
I wrote
remember.
19. I did
19?
the title for the last one. And I think that was the 19th episode.
I
Well,
would think
well,
our
first of
producer
all-
might have an answer for that.
Yeah.
I do.
Well-
and it is 19, I believe.
See,
All he said,
See, it's that-
he didn't look.
it's that
He
accuracy
he
and precision. Frank,
Yes.
Frank just
Ma-
brings it every
19,
time.
Ma-
19, I think. Whatever Frank
Mar-
said, I'm just going to go with
March-
that. I didn't do any
March
research.
March 19th, 2021, 2 hours, 59 minutes, 51 seconds, 5 views, and a past broadcast. It's right here. The title is Reaper Errant, number
Oh.
19, but can you swim? I'm looking right at it, Michael. It's not published
Did you
yet. 'cause
count-
We have to fix it, but
Did you count all of the ones we did during the cons? Are we at 20 or 21, or are we at officially 19? Because we did 2 during 2 cons.
We are
Did those count?
officially 19. I believe the one during the
Okay.
con got a normal label. If it didn't,
All right.
Yeah.
then that could get boosted one number. Usually that gets ironed out on YouTube.
Yeah, Cranky Dog says I'm not getting any extra XP. Probably not. Frank's a little stingy with the XP, isn't he, Jason?
I'm what?
No, I've been quite happy. I think this is probably the highest advanced character I've had in many years, as a matter of fact.
I know, and I want to thank, and checks in the mail, Frank, that nobody has actually died in our party yet. Totally, we've had some near deaths.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had
Gene
some
has
pretty
had
good beatdowns.
Gene's had pretty much a weekly near death experience. He's missed a few weeks, but if you're laying odds, like if you're betting in Vegas and who's most likely to get a near death experience, Gene is almost a 1-to-1, 1-to-2 odds. Yeah, it's Gene.
Although he surprised me
with-
last game, he came out completely unscathed.
Right. Bobby's number 2. Bobby's number 2, but Jason, you're catching up because you did get swallowed by the giant catfish.
I did, and that
What was it?
and it was one I sculpted, so it's always wonderful. It's some kind of Nietzschean paradox to get swallowed by your own creation. But we don't need to talk about that today.
Well, Frank, we're totally separating from our Nightheart Gaming thing. Aside, how's the party doing? I mean, how are we doing? Okay, are we missing a lot of opportunities, or you're like, these guys are just annoying me?
No,
What's
it's
been your
great.
overall vibe from the Reaper Errant?
I love it. I think that the balance of I think there's the right amount of pull and just this back and forth between everybody, that it's balanced between just killing everything and exploring and talking, and so it stays right there on the sweet spot. I think I don't know, for me.
We're lucky to have a few serious players as well that actually
Who is
know
that?
the rules. And
Who's that?
I think that Jen and Rhonda and to some extent Bobby are all fairly serious, and Gene's just all business. So
What am I?
I think you and I are the comedic relief.
I just want to. I want to use my rifle, my Rutarki sniper rifle. I was really heartbroken I didn't get to use it last episode. I would have shot a chicken if I had to, or a townsfolk, or that wandering halfling that was carrying all the stuff the going
tinker.
down the road.
Oh, the tinker.
The tinker. Yeah, I could have taken him out, but
I think there was way more to that tinker, but
yeah,
I didn't want to get into it. It was
Rhonda knows the rules. Yeah.
But no, it was.
So anyway, let's
what do you
talk
think?
a little bit about.
Oh, okay.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Frank.
I was wondering what you thought, since I mean I know you're supposed to be. I don't know what you're supposed to be asking me things, but it makes me curious. What do you think of the game, Michael?
What do I think of the game? So you're talking to somebody who is very remedial in his Dungeons and Dragons lore and knowledge. I like to paint the miniatures, and I like to collect the dice and roll them around, and I like to kill things. And my other real experience is video games, and like, for instance, I'm a huge fan of the Dark Souls games. It's just mash and kill and mash and all that stuff. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoy that. So the story aspects for me initially were kind of like, let's get through this so I can kill something. But as time has gone on, and you do such a good job storytelling, and what I really enjoy from the show that I've always said, and the very few times I've got to play D&D in the past, I'm like, let's get miniatures involved. Let's get terrain involved. Let's set a real setting. Let's get that. And you do such a good job with all of that. And you pre-plan all that out and have the little dungeons for us, or have us have the escape stuff. I think that's a lot of fun. And look, the last year has sucked majorly with the COVID and not being able to get together a lot with your friends. To be able to have this to count on every couple of weeks has been fantastic. It's been fabulous. And that you're willing to tolerate and put up with our shenanigans for 3 or 4 hours or whatever is, you're a saint. You're awesome.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
It is nice to
I've been in. Yeah, it is. It's hashtag full Frank. Yeah. You get
It's
the full Frank.
Fun.
Yeah, because that's what we talked about. I think it was on the RVE. You get the full hashtag full Frank is when you are, and it should be full Nightheart gaming because Nightheart is much not just Frank, it's Anne as well. But we made that joke, yeah, totally. Hashtag full Frank is because you get all the scenery and the settings and everything, and the story and the background, and Frank's his good little voices and characters and stuff, and it's a lot of fun. What do you think, Jace?
I think it's pretty immersive. We have background music and we have sound effects and we have weather effects. It was snowing one day and it was raining another day. I was going to ask, do you script all this out in advance? Because it seems like you have your camera angles planned. And how many cameras do you use on a table on an average session?
So it's because it's to answer first though, because it's D&D, I wouldn't script it out. I think the players are really interacting with everything, so I have no idea what.
Sure, I don't mean script out our movements, but like you kind of have an idea of where the setting's going to move, I would think.
Yeah, I do, and it's so that's how you get weather effects that are nice, right? You can go, oh well, for this adventure it's going to be snowing. Let's see what this is like, and then it drives what everybody would do with the snow or with the terrain, and I don't know. So yeah, I guess I do. I have a rough kind of. This is what's likely to happen today. Let's get this terrain ready for it. Most of it set up, and then some of the outer parts that maybe I'm not sure if you're going to go there or not go there. That can be off the table, off to the side, and I can pop that on pretty quick. But the camera angles, really, it's when I set up the terrain. The cameras are all capable to be moved because they're wired, and their wires will go so far. And for these games, I'm only using 3 cameras on the table. We could use more or less, but for RVE, we have 1 camera operator, and then Justin will be our technical director. So the angles aren't really set up. It's the technical director saying, "Oh, can you get a shot of them as they're coming over the mountain?" Because they see a mountain on the board. And the camera operator grabs the camera, frames up a shot of the mountain, and the technical director goes, "Yeah, I'll take that shot next." And then so they're setting up shots in the background. The only thing I do is set up the terrain and put the cameras at an angle where I think it's going to be visible, playable, and will make the best look overall. And then they get the detail level and bring that to life while you're playing.
Wow, I didn't even know there was that much.
I also wanted to jump in and say, realistically though, during Reaper Anne does most of the creative work on that. I have to give her absolute credit there. That I will call for specific shots, but I tend to be very technical with what I want. Like I want these things in the scene. She takes it. Occasionally I have something creative, but she takes it and she goes, "Well, this would look good," and she's right, damn near every time. I mean, credit where credit's due. Anne does a fantastic job. So.
Well, she kind of has to, because aren't you asleep most of the time, Justin?
Yeah, no, you're right. Like I'm completely asleep, or I'm saying weird stuff. He's
asleep
to Frank
or sleepy. Sometimes he's more sleepy.
Yeah. Or I'll say weird stuff in Frank's ear while he's trying to talk and throw him off a little bit. Sometimes, anytime you guys watch and you see a pause from Frank that lasts longer than 2 or 3 seconds, it's because I'm saying something in his ear and he's listening.
Probably, yeah.
Typically, it's not anything of merit. It's just to throw him off. So.
Okay.
So I'm trying to imagine the line on a resume for both Frank and Justin. Is this something that you ever anticipated that you'd be doing? A technical director for an online D&D, or a driving force behind an online D&D role-playing concern? Did you ever envision yourself doing this, or is this something that you kind of fell into, or what was the genesis of Nightheart Gaming?
I never envisioned it, but it's like slipping on a nice size pair of shoes. It just feels good. But that's because of everything I think I've done over time that leads up to it. I was a musician, so a lot of audio engineering things. Did photography, so a lot of camera, lighting, angles. And then lots of D&D, writing stories, campaigns, terrain, miniatures, and then just a general personality that wants to be an entertainer. If I like to throw a party or an event, it's something I enjoy doing, and this is the same sort of thing, right? So kind of combine all those, and every single game is like as though you're planning for an event or a party or something. You're like, okay, I need this scene, I need this terrain, I need this, I need cameras here and people there and this here and that there. And you just use all those skills that you build up over time. And it fits well, but I could never possibly have said from the time I was playing this in a tent somewhere in the middle of the forest, I could not imagine that I would be doing these things on a stream.
You played in a tent in a forest?
We're certainly glad you do.
Yeah.
How many hours a week would you say you're streaming?
Well, I mean, that's like we're up live and streaming for 11 to 12, 11 hours, maybe something like that. But there's a lot more that goes.
Yeah. Well, that was my next question. I think you're stepping all over it, Frank. Thanks a lot.
Now, before you elaborate,
hashtag buzz.
So
now, before you elaborate,
I was going to ask about how many hours that you guys put into show prep, because it's obvious to us that are playing in the game, and probably to most people that are watching, that there's just hours and hours of development time from the props all the way through.
It depends on the game and if we're doing something entirely new or reworking things, but it's at least an hour behind the scenes for every hour on, but even that's not entirely realistic. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 more, but it's at least 1 for 1 at a minimum.
I imagine
that's I hate to say it, but that's the game. That is a game set where we're phoning it in. I mean, we're never really phoning it in, but that's sometimes we'll go, we can't make anything new. We don't have time. We got the rest of life to do. So how can we take what we have? And then the pre-planning becomes, how do we take what we have and utilize it, rather than how do we create something new? Creating something new takes a little bit longer sometimes, but reshaping what you already have saves a little time when we need it.
So I'm imagining that your show space is racks and racks of terrain and various things that you can lay out on the table. How far off am I?
You're not far off. This whole studio is basically the house. It's a whole house. What is originally the family room is our Studio A, basically, which is kind of squared off by green screen hanging from the ceiling and walls to make a square that is 16 feet by 16 feet, essentially. In the middle of that's an 8 foot by 8 foot table, and all the lighting and cameras and all the stuff that goes around it. It's quite an undertaking. And then one half of an office is all wires, cabling, computer gear. Actually, probably the whole office, except I have a shelf of D&D books and a filing cabinet in there. But it's all, monitors and gear to make it. And then an entire spare bedroom has industrial shelving with all this terrain boxed up, and we rebox it after every game and put it back. Well, we try to. Ideally, we rebox it after every game and put it back in so it packs very tightly on a shelf. We have hundreds, if not 1,000 pounds of miniature terrain.
Wow. That's cool. Wow.
Well, it sure adds to the whole experience. I mean, all our villages aren't all the same, and the landscape isn't all the same, and the trees are different, and the ground, the soil even looks different from shot to shot, and I really appreciate that. Lord Dave wants to move to your neighborhood. I'd probably not tell him where you live. I like Lord Dave.
Lord Dave is welcome. With all that painting he did for RVE, we could use a Lord Dave in our neighborhood.
Well, there you go.
That's true. He was a powerhouse for Reaper Errant actually not just Reaper Errant, all of the D&D games, I guess, because you used all the minis, did you, for multiple games?
Yeah, absolutely, multiple times. Trying to keep something that's exactly to your point, Jason, about it looks different every time, as we're trying to keep it fresh every time, and sometimes you throw in what's his name enough times that Michael points it out.
Yeah, the guy that's going like this. Yes. I don't know who he is.
And sometimes, but
he was painted differently, so it wasn't the same.
We have two of them.
Same. Yes. So that's still, I'll give you credit for that. Totally.
Yeah, we're always happy when Michael paints or points out stuff like that. Someone was asking, the industrial shelves, is that because a lot of the terrain is plaster?
Honestly, it's because a lot of the terrain is Dwarven Forge Dwarvenite, and that stuff is very heavy.
So that heavy resin stuff,
yeah. Well, it's a heavy vinyl PVC type, but it's very, whatever their formula is, it's very heavy.
I wanted to expand on the playing in the forest in a tent. What? Yeah. So
you would. I could see you going there, of all people. Go ahead.
I'm just curious. Like, is that where you got your start with D&D, or?
Well, yeah, that was sort of a mixed play on my past, but yeah, my very first start with D&D was it's like a Cub Scout jamboree back in 1980, I guess. And somebody had a monster manual, and we were all camping. So that's what got me into it. But whenever I've gone camping, from that time forward, whenever I went camping, I had some dice, paper, D&D book, and we'd play. I mean, why wouldn't you? When it's time to go to bed, you're crowded around in the tent, you can tell a bunch of jokes, which is fine, but you can also play D&D, which is something we did. Right? I mean, we didn't have a bunch of terrain, we just had dice in our imagination, paper, and that's plenty.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, 1980 was 10 years before John or I were born. That's fantastic.
Well, that's nice of you to point out, Justin.
Yeah, thanks for making our guest feel old.
Hey, listen.
That was why I was asking about classic rock back in the green room.
We might have a new DBJ. I'm not sure.
Rock was.
We might have a new DBJ. That's all I have to say.
Oh man, Frank's used to it, at least for me. I'm sure.
Yes,
I'm fine.
Yes. Yeah.
As long as I die
Michael,
old, that's great.
I have to interject here. The chat is talking about that you're flailing and struggling.
I dropped a cap to one of my little paints, and it got on the floor. So I was cleaning it up because I had to move my chair into where the paint spilled. So It's, you know, I'm just adding a little flavor to the show.
Well, I think there's people that don't understand your
sideline,
your drunken monkey approach to your painting.
You know, it's funny to say that, but there is a certain kind of aspect of drunken monkey kind of style to painting. I just throw a lot of colors on there and just start going. And this guy's a good example of that as well. There's a somewhat of a plan, but it's more just having fun. And those are the pieces I tend to enjoy the most when I'm just having a good time on.
Yeah, I think it, you know, obviously, I always enjoy watching Michael paint, and I would never say that he was struggling or flailing. Guess who that was? You can guess who that was.
Well, that was Bobby reiterated it. I think Max Stiles said something too. So, you know, who cares?
Yeah, so they're on the list now, right?
Oh yeah. So, Twisted Doma. Miko is doing fabulous. She's upstairs right now. She's not much of a baby puppy anymore. She's going to be 6 months next week, and she's she's about 40 something pounds right now. She's huge.
She's looking big. So,
yeah. She's awesome. She's great. She's been a lot of fun. But yeah, she's growing really, really fast, and she's supposedly at 6 months they're half their size. So. Oh my God, we're in for it now.
Wow, you're gonna be able to rent her out for pony rides.
Exactly. I think the neighbor kids are waiting for her to get big enough so they can ride her around like a pony. She's great. She's hitting it off with all the neighbors' kids, and they like her. And we got some really fun neighbors that moved up next door to us, and really good kids, and they're really good with her. And she gets to spend time with little kids, and it makes her gets her more acclimated, or I don't know the word I'm looking for, but she's doing well. Yeah. So, Frank, when you're designing these modules, and I think not back to our last week's episode, but at RVE when we were kind of in the spaceship or in the crashed, it looked like on the map there were so many more areas for us to explore. And I think we would have gotten to that if it wasn't folks like Bobby asking way too many questions and want to interrogate everything. Maybe we wouldn't be able to explore more. But how much, like, you write all this stuff and you concept it up and everything in case they go here, then I'm prepared and this is going to happen. Do you get disappointed where you may have been super stoked to write this portion that we never even went that direction?
Rarely would I ever. I can't actually point to a time, even in Reaper Errant, where I've been disappointed by a direction change. I'm usually just delighted about the choices that led to those directions. And if there's something that I really love that I did, all it means is I put it back in the bin and improve it and bring it out again in a different way, so it doesn't get lost. I forget who said it. I was watching somebody from the D&D community have an interview or something, and they had said, I think it was Chris Perkins, that said, when you have a story idea, don't wait for the perfect moment to use it. Just use it, and then otherwise it'll sit around and get dusty, and you kind of, it's too precious all of a sudden, and now it's not, this isn't the right moment. No, that's not the right moment. This isn't the right moment. So just use the idea, and if you liked it a lot or you want to improve it next time, you could do it again differently. But at least get the creativity out there once you have that spark. So I try to do that, and I don't get disappointed if it doesn't go that way. I go, oh, well, that's that. I like the way they went. That's cool. I'll use this other thing later.
Oh, cool. Do you do a lot of research? You mentioned that other guy, that's name escaped me because I wasn't totally paying attention. But do you do a lot of research, watching a lot of other people play D&D on Twitch and see how they're doing, like Critical Role or stuff like that?
I do a little bit, but it's too hard to watch as many talented people as out there playing D&D. And D&D is a long form game, so I don't get it. I couldn't say I'm really involved in anybody's actual story, but I will drop in from time to time and just watch somebody for a while and see how they're doing it, and look at something and go, oh, I like the way I like the way she did that, or I like the way he did that, or I like that kind of character. Oh, that's a good NPC. I like the way they voiced it. Or I'll, occasionally will also listen. Well, I'm more likely to listen to an interview than I am to watch a game, because it's usually there's usually more behind the answer than me just trying to figure out and backwards, reconstruct it by watching it.
Mm-hmm.
How often do you get a chance to play? Not being the storyteller role, but the actual play role.
I used to never get to play, but Anne, fortunately, Anne does a lot of DMing, so occasionally I get to play. I got to play. I might get to play this Friday. I got to play the altering Fridays other than Reaper Errant during some of these one shots. So recently, even, which is, I guess that's not typical, but I probably play. And then I'm in another game that is slowed down since the pandemic, but I'm probably a player 12 times a year, 12 or so.
Oh, still a fair number of times.
Yeah.
Well, prior to doing your Nightheart Gaming edition for us, Jason, we might play together twice a year.
Yeah, 2 or 3
had a
times
campaign.
if we're lucky.
Yeah, we had a campaign going with Kevin Williams that we would play 2 or 3 times at most during the year, and that campaign was going on like for 6-7 years plus. Yeah, so it was kind of a fun thing to pick up, but it's been great being able to throw in 19 episodes in less than a year, or around a year's time frame. It's been fun. It's been a blast. I don't want it to end. So even if you got to kill Bobby off, that's fine.
It has been a ton of fun. Mm-hmm. I agree. I don't plan on. I know it's disappointing, but I don't plan on killing Bobby off.
Oh yeah. No, the elf and the gnome have this kind of.
Well, you couldn't admit that if you were planning on killing Bobby off.
No, I couldn't.
The elf and the gnome have this ongoing kind of adversarial relationship, but when it comes down to it, I mean, when the gnome jumped in the boat, the elf was there to back him up. So, yeah,
that's true.
I don't know if he'd back me up, but I don't know if the gnome would back the elf up, but the elf will back the gnome up.
Wow, pretty good tooting
no
your
pun
own
intended
there, Michael.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Well, I know I enjoy it because of obviously the thing that brought me into gaming, and the thing that keeps me sculpting, and the thing that keeps me interested in all this is the creative aspect. And I think that one of the additional things as I've gotten older has been the community aspect of the creation. And as sculptors, we learned this years ago, obviously, when an art director would say something. Sometimes we'd have art, we'd produce it, the mold maker would add their experience to that, and then ultimately a painter would paint it, and then even more ultimately it would be on a table serving a function for a whole other layer of creativity. So I think that whole thing is just tremendously stimulating. We really appreciate, I think, every stage of it. I mean, there's every stage of it. I assume that you paint, Frank, and that you paint your terrain and you make your terrain and that sort of thing when you can. Are there any other aspects of the game you enjoy other than what we've talked about so far?
I think I think we've talked about it though. It's the so I do like the community that's leading up to it, and a lot goes into it from a lot of different people, which is really nice because it just feels surprising sometimes. Like I don't paint as much terrain as I'd like. Anne paints a lot of it, and I love to see the pieces she comes up with, and then I use them in ways that she wouldn't have thought necessarily of using them. And I think, and I mean that is part of the fun, but I think my favorite part of it is really during the gameplay, the like revealing it. It's always been like, and I don't mean like the like a twist ending in the movie kind of revealing it, but when you kind of reveal a bit of the story and the terrain that goes with it, or just the terrain, and then characters interact with it. Either way, I like. So I even like it when like I'll put down a piece of terrain that it's just there. Like I didn't have a special purpose for it, but suddenly a player's like, oh, this piece, they'll find something they love about it, so they'll want to climb it, or break it, or swing it at somebody, or talk to it, or I don't know, whatever they want to do with it. It's amazing, that part of it, the part where it gets the part where it all comes together and everybody has fun because of the stuff that's of all that community and work that's been done. It's like the final step of community where people get to enjoy it.
Well, having played on ink and paper maps for a long time, I know that it's hard to resist the impulse of a well painted piece of terrain being put on the table, because it seems to have far greater importance than my stack of books with a towel over it used to.
I think that's one of the secrets for playing. Like Michael mentioned, that there was more, and there was probably more out there that could have been explored in the ship, but what players tend to do is explore the terrain that they see, because I don't know, it directs them to a certain place. So if you, like, a lot of people ask, well, how can you set up a whole table when a player was just going to take a right-hand turn somewhere and that's not going to be useful? But when you put something in front of somebody, it becomes like, oh, I'm going to interact with this thing that you've put in front of me. So just the act of putting terrain on the table and setting it up like a scene encourages everybody to play out that scene in the way that they're going to do it.
Yeah, it's the stagecraft, I think, that we all appreciate as far as that goes. Except for Michael. I'm never sure with Michael what he's liking.
No, I remember, so the episode when we were traveling through the pass and the orcs were on both sides of the mountain, and we came up and we had our carts that we were help shepherding the carts down to the lake, to the river. You had that terrain where we came up to it and we could just see the two cliff faces, and the way you ran the camera and stuff. Yeah, it was like it, because that was one of the first things. I think I climbed up one side, and Bobby and Pugh and Gooseneck climbed up on a side, and it was exactly what you said. And then we found out there were orcs on top, and yeah, it was really cool. And Pugh, Bobby Jackson, used the terrain that you created to help get rid of a couple enemies, tricking them falling off the cliff, which was fantastic. So that was a neat use of the terrain.
So did El Lagarto.
Well, yeah, he did.
El Lagarto was born on one of those cliffs.
Yeah. Cliff diving off with
the play on Gene's behalf.
With the orc captain jumping off the cliff. I thought that was fantastic.
Yes.
No, that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that, and I get a kick. My ADD is such that I do get a little distracted at times, but you do a good job with the narrative that keeps me engaged and keeps me having a good time. So, yeah.
So, Frank, has there ever been a point at which the players were upset with you?
Oh, probably.
I mean, we never
would,
have. I mean, Rhonda sends some texts every once in a while, but
oh my Lord, right? Yeah.
yeah,
We
but
won't talk about that.
no, we'll wait till she's on.
Yeah.
So I yes. So yes, absolutely. There have been times when I have put tasks in front of, and there are learning experiences for me. It's typically just not reading the room that creates the problem. Like I've put puzzles in front of people who don't like puzzles, or I've put.
There's a resounding yes from someone named Sidwee in the chat, so I think we all know who that is.
Yeah.
Go ahead. So when you put puzzles down and it wasn't, it was someone that maybe liked hack and slash rather than puzzle solving.
Yeah, and if you like hack and slash, you won't like all the role play. So so there's definitely the type of game I think has been a disappointment, and then I'm sure I've made judgment calls to that have at some point gotten on someone's nerve. I think I try to be very fair about things. That happens least than a lot of than just misreading what someone would enjoy, but it still happens, right? Where everything's moving fast and I have to be like, well, no, that doesn't work like that. Let's keep going with the game.
That's what you have to tell me pretty much on an episode basis. Yeah, Michael, you can't do that.
Well, rules are an interesting aspect because while they serve as a framework, you don't really, I would assume, you don't really want them to completely bind you to a style of play either when you're telling your story. For me, the story seems much more interesting than the rule set.
Yeah, I would agree. But I just the rules as a common framework, like you mentioned, but also so that everyone just. I think of it more whenever I question a rule or decline someone wanting to do something fun or new. It's almost always from the perspective as, will this make it less fun for another class or character or player if I say yes to you? And that's usually what how I rule things when I start going back to quoting rules. If someone wants to do something, it sounds cool, it sounds fun, and I think, well, but one of the other players has an ability that does this exact thing, and they have put time and effort into making it part of their character, and you haven't. So I might decline that, right? I don't want the other person to feel like, wow, well, why did I choose that stuff for? So that's typically how I think of the rules, from the lens of, is this going to make it less fun for some other player at the table? Because it's always going to be fun for me.
What are your favorite character classes to have on the table? Do you have a favorite? Do you have a preference for a type of group?
I don't think it's a preference for a character class, but it's a preference for a player who enjoys that class as a concept, that brings that class to life. Because I've seen so many, I could say, if I said rogue, it wouldn't be, there's so many ways I've seen a rogue played.
Sure.
That it doesn't, it's just when it's when someone gets behind one of the concepts and brings that class to life. I've seen them all just do amazing things. It's less fun when someone's like, I don't really want to play this, but I want to try it because I've never played it before. They don't have a real reason to play it. Then the class usually feels lackluster because it's not motivating to them in the same way another class might be. That's a strange answer to that question, but I just...
No, that's a good answer. Yeah. It was a tough question when I went back and thought about it. It's not the easiest question to answer.
Well,
again,
what
I
would
think we're back to creative-driven gaming
Yeah.
rather than a strict character class.
Mhm. Frank, so for somebody who has been just playing D&D for a long time and maybe wants to get into DMing, to me that is very daunting and a little intimidating to go, okay, I've been playing, I'm going to learn to be a DM now. What's maybe a few pointers or suggestions from your experience, maybe things that you did wrong initially that you learned from, that you would say, hey, as a new DM, kind of think about these things?
So this is a really important question. I feel like it is, and I
Thank you.
wish I could
I
do
try
it.
to give good questions. Yeah.
I wish I could do it justice, and I'm not sure that I can, but I will try, because it's really easy to say, don't worry about it, be creative, think of the rules second, have fun, and all those things that you learn after you've done it for a long time, and you go, well, these are the important things. But at first, they don't feel important to some people. There's the formality of stuff. So I think chunking off and approaching the things you're afraid of directly instead of open, like if you go to a forum and you say, hey, I'm a first time DM, any tips or advice, I think you would get overwhelmed with, I imagine I see those questions and I just see an overwhelming number of overwhelming bits of advice. And I would say that the best advice is, if you're confident about something, don't worry about it. Take the things you're not confident about and hunt those bits down. So if you're not confident about the rules, find a way to make that work for you, whether that's the person who likes to prep and plan, so you want to go in and learn all the rules. It's the hard way, but maybe you're that type of person. Or a good way is to find the rule knowledgeable person at the table and just always rely on them to help you. Like, I don't know this rule. What's the rule? And they can even look it up sometimes, or and sort of give you an answer, and you'll get used to it over time. If it's the creativity or role play, then go look at role playing and creativity and see what you like. So just if you're confident about something, don't worry about that thing, because you're already going to be able to do it. Find little bite-sized chunks that you are not confident about that will give you just enough, and don't feel like you're ever going to be 100% prepared, because you're probably not, right?
Building on Michael's excellent question, and that was an excellent question, Michael.
Thanks, Jason. I really appreciate it.
You're
that.
welcome.
I mean, I go to school for this stuff.
You don't usually get a question like that. That's what amazes me. You're particularly
out
inspired.
of every maybe 10 shows, I might get a zinger like that. Yeah. Thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah.
I'm going to build on that and ask, every creative process has a stumbling block, has a blank sheet of paper, has a lack of, where you just hit that wall. And so what do you find to be inspiring things that help you be creative as a game master that are outside of role playing?
Okay. Well, I think it would be unfair to give the largest, which might count as being inside, and that is the terrain itself. Sometimes I'll just set up terrain and then ask, what's the story here? And then create a story around it. And that's not necessarily sometimes. I will do that, like a pretty piece of terrain, like the Tree of Despair. I was like, ooh, what can I do with this? This is a great piece. How do I make a story? And then you just sort of spitball a story at that and bounce it off and come up with something. And so but that's kind of within the realm. Outside of that, I watch movies, read books, other stories, other stories where you go, oh, I like that bit of story, or I like that piece of scene there in the movie. I love this movie. This would be a great concept. And so I think other media out of the D&D media into other media is where I go.
Sure, and you're able to extract ideas from that and find inspiration in that. I've often wondered that myself. I used to DM a few games here and there since about the time you were a Cub Scout, and Rhonda was talking about playing on a surface where you just drew on a map. I remember painting pennies and writing the names of the monsters on the pennies. That's back in the day when we wore onions on our belt. But I've often wondered how other people approach that same time. I mean, I know Michael, he'll get stuck on a problem. He'll go for a bike ride or play with a dog or redo his whole kitchen or put a new roof on his house or things like that.
Well, so if I get stuck on something, I meditate on it, to be honest. And I can do that outside, sit still. It doesn't look like that.
Cross your legs.
But I will find a quiet place. Often the only place that I can find a quiet place is like in the shower. So I'll just turn on the hot water, lean against the wall, and try to clear my mind and think about, just let it roll and tumble around with ideas. But I can do that sometimes outside on a bench, staring out at a nice scene or some other quiet aspect. So it's still meditation, but it's certainly not a focused vocalization style meditation with a pose.
Okay.
You don't do the repetitive sounds, or that's
right.
Good to hear, actually. That'd be kind of terrifying otherwise.
When I was first introduced to D&D many years ago, it was all about the modules. You would get the module and you would present the module, and you like to create your own stories and everything. I'm assuming that in your past you would utilize a lot of modules. Is that a good tool for somebody learning to be a DM? Is to utilize that, because at least that takes it out? Are you a fan of the modules, or do you take the modules and then make them your own? I mean, there's a lot of avenues to that question.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. I actually am not a module player. I think I've, as a DM, presented one module in all the years I've DM'd for players. I will buy modules and rent and borrow from friends and read modules, and I will find bits of ideas in there. But you
will liberate certain ideas.
Yeah, I will absolutely take some ideas. Yeah. I have no issues with that. If there's something that I was like, this is really cool, I want to use this, or this is terrifying, I'm going to use this. But it always ends up pretty different from what the original module was. Like I was obvious to Jason, and might have been obvious to at least one other person commented, but the RVE event was definitely nabbed from Expedition to Barrier Peaks module, right? Which is an old D&D module, and it's turned out nothing like that module in any way, other than the setup, which is all I needed for that piece. So that was the bit of inspiration.
Of the idea. Yeah.
Any bit of it. So sometimes I'll buy a whole D&D book, and then I'll read through it, and just all I end up with is, I'm not going to use any of this except for this concept of how the scenario is set up. I love that. And that's all I need sometimes. But that's definitely where inspiration from. The game right after RVE, or right after not RVE, but last week's Reaper Errant, Friday's Reaper Errant. I had a game Saturday, and I loved the terrain so much, and I had had just gotten another D&D book, and one of the scenarios in there like it thematically fit that terrain, but it was quite different and had different terrain in it, but the thematics worked, and I went, ooh, I'm going to run with this concept. I'm going to just alter the terrain on the table a little bit, but almost use the same scene and play an entirely different story in it. So the game that we had on Saturday, following the Reaper Errant on Friday, if anybody watched both, they would have seen very similar terrain, almost an identical layout, but the entire story was completely different. So,
oh, cool.
Yeah.
I used to find those books of like fantasy personalities where they just flesh out NPCs. I used to find those tremendously helpful. Just to kind of get me over the hump when there was a lot of different personalities that you had to portray in a role-playing session. Different voices and jobs and that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I think for D&D especially, like a standout character, whether it was from a cartoon or a movie or a book or anything, is inspirational. I also for Reaper Errant games, I will purposefully go, oh, what did Jason sculpt? And I'll look through the list of stuff and go, does any of this stuff seem fun for me at this moment with the ideas going in my head? What did Bobby sculpt? What did Gene sculpt? And I'll do a search and I'll look at the list and go, oh, well, this piece is theirs. It might be fun to present it in this way. Let's try this.
I'm sure it's great fun for you.
Yeah, as much as I really love and enjoy and appreciate my partner's sculpting abilities, let's not include some of his more recent larger items. Like, I really don't want to see the giant Tarrasque come popping into our game at any point, or even though it's a fantastic miniature. Let's keep.
I think the whole set of Scions would be interesting.
Oh yeah, that would be cool. That would be cool. Yeah.
I like Rhonda's comment.
What'd she say?
So if we die, it's Bobby, Jason, or Gene's fault. Got it.
Yes, got it. Yeah, totally, totally.
Yeah. Well, now that we have a tiefling that can roll better than a 1, that has made a tremendous difference.
I know. Yeah. Well, it's fun.
No, I mean, the big stuff doesn't have to be used like that, though. I mean, you might see something big. Maybe it'll be a gentle giant. Who knows?
Or a statue. It could just be a statue.
A statue. Yeah.
We haven't encountered a dragon yet.
No, which is really rare for me. Very rare. I usually
they should be rare. It should be very, very, very rare.
In every campaign in the last 5 years, by second level or third level, players have encountered. Everyone I've DM'd, players have encountered a dragon. You are like the only exception.
Oh my God, we're overdue. We're overdue.
Yeah.
And I had one out
with a rifle
twice, 2 times now. I've had one out ready to use.
Really?
When hearkening back to some of the things Michael asked about, has something not happened yet, or have players not gone a direction? I two times. Once in the swamp, I had a younger dragon, maybe less terrifying. Couldn't maybe use their tail to knock over trees. Still big and scary. I had something prepared, but it just wasn't ready yet, I guess, to happen. So,
well, I'm glad we did not encounter whatever dragon age or ability at that point in the game, because we got our ass kicked by a flail snail. We had to run away.
Yeah.
Run away! We literally ran away from a flail snail. I think
if we can't beat a flail snail, I doubt we can beat a dragon.
I think that's been the only thing that we've run away from. But unless there's anything else, I don't recall. But yeah, we really did run away from the flail snail. There was I think Gene got just hammered, literally.
Yep.
By the flail snail, and then we all took off. Yeah, he got flailed.
That's strategic retreat with honor, is what I prefer to think of that.
Definitely.
Yeah. Brave Sir Robin.
I feel like you had to make a hasty exit from hell.
Ah, true.
Well, who wants to stay there? I mean, very few of us have little pitchfork tails and horns.
Yeah, but Rhonda does point out, what about nice dragons we can make friends with?
Yeah,
There's
always those
too.
too.
Yeah,
but they usually want something, or will talk your head off about something.
There's not a nice dragon. No nice dragons.
Okay.
There's no nice dragons.
Did you hear that, Rhonda? Yeah. So hey, what can you tease us with future episodes of Reaper Errant? Is there anything kind of out there, maybe 4 or 5 or 1 or 2 episodes down the road?
Yeah. So I am much like everybody else, or many of the other viewers. I have bought in to Reaper Bones Kickstarter, and stuff is coming.
Lots of townsfolk. Lots of townsfolk.
When it gets here, I'm bound to employ a lot of things coming in that.
Mostly
we're headed
Kickstarter.
We're headed to a port.
You're headed to a port
on the
ocean.
A port in the ocean, right?
Frank didn't buy the watery grave set.
Encounter. I wonder.
Yeah. And we're all in for that Kickstarter, so there's nothing we didn't get.
Yeah. Oh wow. That is awesome.
Boy, I wish I hadn't heard that.
I know, right?
Well, wait till you see the next Kickstarter.
Ooh. I wonder. Are we going to? The only saving grace that we're going to have potentially is it's going to take a while for them to paint this up, because I'm not sending Frank this. But if we're on the ocean, we could encounter this, right, Frank?
Oh yeah, of course.
The sea giant. I know, right?
I mean,
he wouldn't have to be on the ocean. He could be wandering around looking for something.
Yeah, totally. He's on the coast.
If we can go on the ocean, he can go on the land, right?
Right.
For everyone who has watched RVE, or not RVE, but Reaper Errant, and followed the story, I don't want to give spoilers, but then again, you should definitely watch. I gave a hint. Certainly, in the last game, you encountered someone who had a lead on a captain, and what that captain and their ship did. I mean, I'm pretty sure I set up a whole other story arc.
Yeah. That's where we're going. That's who we're hooking up with. Yeah. And I'm gonna get in the crow's nest and use my Rutarki sniper rifle. I'm excited about that. I think I have 24 shots. I'm gonna use them. I'm not gonna use them wisely. I'm just not gonna lie to myself. It's gonna be fun. So, but yeah. now that Pujol has given away his little 6-shooter to Corncob, who actually has dexterity, they can utilize it appropriately. Because the little gnome couldn't hold the gun short sound enough for have it not go off the wrong direction.
I think the part he didn't like is when he finally hit, he was like, wait a minute, this feels like all the other things I can already do.
Yeah, that's what's funny. You got your pistol in one hand and you're looking at your cantrips going, I should probably be using my cantrips.
Right. Pujol's a nature boy. Guns are too loud. Yeah.
That's very fair.
Yeah. Well, it's been fun today. What do you think, Jason?
Yeah, this has been very fun.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. I'm answering questions, and I hope. I mean, I've had fun. I hope it was entertaining for everybody else.
Yeah, I think it has. And it really,
people.
Yeah, they had a good time. I'm sure they did. We did. That's probably the most important thing.
Yeah, it's all about us.
Then they should be having a good time. Exactly. Well, we're getting a little bit past the hour. Let's do some shout outs and pub for Nightheart Gaming. Frank, tell us about what you got coming up the rest of this week, what you got coming up in the future. What are maybe some future plans? We talked a little bit about some potential merchandise options, or sell us everybody on Nightheart Gaming, please.
Well, Nightheart Gaming. I mean, watch some streams, watch some D&D game streams. But if you just talk about a schedule, even tonight we have some crafting. I am busy constructing a cliff for the game. It's a big plaster 20-inch by 10-inch by 12-inch cliff face.
I thought maybe that was a dragon's name.
No. That would don't put it past us to name a dragon cliff, though. But that's our schedule. That's our currently normal Tinker Tuesday schedule, 7:00 on Tuesday nights, and then Central Standard Time. And then Friday we have a one-shot game that Sidwi in the chat there. She's DMing. I'm not sure who all is in that yet. But that's going to be fun. We've had a lot of fun. It's all like chat focused. Chat's making up the world on the fly for that game. Saturday we are going to be on Gary Khan's channel at 4:00 Central Time. We have we're doing a little harken back to Greyhawk, and I am doing a more true to module, but yet condensed version of Expedition to Barrier Peaks during that, since it's sort of a Greyhawk for what we're doing. The group we're playing with is very Greyhawk focused, so it's in the older realms.
If I had a group that wanted you to DM for us, how would I go about doing that?
That's an interesting question. So we certainly have considered doing some games here, and then I have DM'd for games. I would say if you were interested in that sort of thing, it would be like that's a limited access.
Sure. I just wondered if that was something that you had considered.
Yeah, we have. We have actually considered that, and it is possible. And I would definitely find Nightheart Gaming email address, like say Frank at Nightheart Gaming. You won't get there if you send it to Chad or Rasputin or Mr. TPK. No. It's got to go to Frank at nightheartgaming.com.
Yes. Yeah. Speaking of your Chad
inquiries like that.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. So
that's for inquiries like that, but go ahead.
No. Is there did I skip out on anything else? Did I cut in any other promotions? Other merchandising? You had some merchandising.
Oh, well, so we have a bunch of fun merchandising in the works, and amongst those that we know will be available are things like t-shirts and mugs, but we have some other stuff that might be more comfortable and comforting and relaxing that are available.
Oh. And what night do you normally do your mixology?
So Thursday nights we have something called pregame, because we always have a game Friday, one way or the other. And I like to just chat with chat, and I'll chat at the bar, and we'll make up a drink, and I'll answer questions directly, typically for a good 2 hours.
Awesome.
And this is all on your Nightheart Gaming Twitch channel?
It's all on twitch.tv/nightheartgaming.
Does this end up on YouTube?
The D&D games end up on YouTube. The crafting channel and the chat with people usually do not end up on YouTube. No.
Okay.
They remain on Twitch for 90 days or so.
Awesome. And then kind of one last request, and I don't know whether you can do this or not, but can you play a little number for us? You gave us a little taste before pre-show.
I don't know if Justin would allow that or not.
Justin, are you awake?
Don't you get 10 seconds fair use?
I feel like as a cover too, it's not quite the same thing. There's no way to DMCA that. So really, honestly, as long as Anna allows
you get fair use, right?
Yeah. Well, as long as
I want for the people, for everybody that's stuck around, I want to leave them one last little Easter egg fun. Like, you've stuck around this long, now we get to hear Frank, A.K.A. Chad, perform. just a quick little
play us out.
I feel like this is for Michael. I feel like this is for
Yes,
it is for Michael.
This is for Michael.
It is for Michael.
100%.
He lives way up the hills in Colorado. He doesn't get to hear live music very often.
Corporea wants to know if you're playing Baby Shark.
No, Aaron, stop. We already have our song ready to go.
I know what Michael wants. That's the thing. All right, Michael. Let's see what I can
Here we go.
Frank's very good at the guitar and the melodica.
Yes.
I don't know why. I must really like you, Michael.
Get ready to clip this.
And a one, and a two, and a three.
Section.
Ready?
Yes.
Look at this photograph. Every time I do, it makes me laugh. And what the hell is that? I can't.
We are gonna get you on with the great Derek Schubert, and we're gonna do a musical number.
Oh man, this is
had
already
a lot of
it. This has to happen.
Yeah. You know, Derek and Mocha both did that karaoke at ReaperCon.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun.
We should get Mocha on too. Yeah. We haven't had Mocha on.
Yeah.
Jason, how come we haven't had Mocha on?
Because you said you hate Mocha.
I never said that. Wow. No, never said that. I love
He
Mocha.
didn't. I'm
She's
just kidding,
awesome.
guys.
She's too fantastic.
We love that Mocha.
Yeah.
I do love the
Matter of
idea.
fact, she is on our long list.
She is. I do love the idea of the three of them on one show and make it a music.
Right. So I also.
Well, you know, we have someone named El Lagarto that also is quite an accomplished musician.
He is as well, right?
And
maybe Frank could write us some little
very accomplished musician.
Musical ditty that we could loop and we could throw in at various times. It'd have to be an original number, but if you're interested, throw something down and send it to Justin, and we're wrapping in some additional music. Jason's family is working on various intros and outros.
And some custom music.
They're working way too hard on it, as far as I'm concerned. I just want a few bars, but they're just hammering it out here,
creating a whole song.
Well, thank you.
I guess a whole discography. I think we're going to get a whole album out of the deal.
I couldn't keep it.
Whether it's going to be thrash metal or bluegrass, though, we're not sure yet. So, it could go either way.
Blue metal, thrash grass. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have two daughters, and both of them, their significant others are musicians. So.
All right. Well, thank you, folks, for coming out.
Yep. Next week. We'll be back next week. We don't know who the guest is. We're efforting a guest.
Maybe Mocha.
Yeah, and we'll see if she's available. I don't even know if she's available, but and we'll get somebody on.
It'll be somebody.
It'll be somebody, or it'll be somebody. It's not going to be nobody.
Or somebody.
It'll be somebody. Yeah, it'll be somebody or somebody else.
Maybe somebody who can play a shawm.
Yeah, or if we really can't find anybody, we always have Gene.
Boy, I'm not sure that was said the right way.
I know. Gene, I had Gene on once, and it was kind of a last minute thing, and it was only because I hadn't planned anything, and he goes, "Oh, you didn't have anybody else," and I'm like, "No, it's not true." But now he thinks that he's the default last go-to, which isn't a bad thing. That's how John Oliver gets on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. But, anyways.
Well, there you go.
The very last option would be Bobby Jackson. It wouldn't be Gene. Gene would be chosen before Bobby.
Speaking of Bobby Jackson, I want to turn the music up a little bit here before we sign out, just for him, because I know how much he loves this music.
We always have that interview show with Justin in our back pocket too.
Oh,
that is the very last alt. So it'd go Gene, Bobby, and then Justin.
Yeah.
Right?
Thank you, Frank, for coming out. Thank you too for always doing the show. Have a great night, folks.
Yeah.
Keep being awesome.
Yeah.
Give everyone a big wave.